Hi there. With the start of the new year, I put together this guide to the most anticipated upcoming TV shows of 2025, following up from my preceding video, which was a review of the best TV shows of 2024. And like I said in that, this is inherently subjective. This is my list. There is no objective thing of the best TV show because there's different genres, but I'm going by the logic that if you're in my audience for a YouTube channel devoted to the World of Westeros franchise, you're probably in the same taste clusters that I am. Taste communities, streamers call them verticals, that the micro genres that they found out this has crossover appeal. Like a Venn diagram, they can be in more than one thing. That Game of Thrones was both sci-fi fantasy and a political drama. People talking in rooms. So some people are watching who like Star Wars style action, some are watching who like HBO's Succession and drama shows like that. So there's some overlap. It's never 100%, but I'm going by the logic that this is stuff you'd probably be into as well. And also with an eye towards specifically YouTube, what will be fueling discussion on the YouTube community in the long break between Westeros TV seasons, because A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the next show, isn't coming out until at least summer and probably fall, is what they said, not spring. What are we going to get up to in the meantime? So there's certain shows which, while good, like I don't know how many analysis videos we were making about the lore behind Succession versus Wheel of Time or something. That brings up another issue that on the list I wrote out, I bolded the ones that I personally actually intend to watch, and I mention other ones that I think you would consider noteworthy, but which I won't be able to watch just because there aren't enough hours in a day, or I never started them. Case in point, Wheel of Time Season 3, I regret I haven't had time to watch the first two seasons. I'd like to catch up on it eventually, but just letting you know I personally am behind on that, but you guys would want to know about that because there's a lot of crossover with the fantasy drama crowd. One other aspect of how I'm going about this is I'm also using it as a way to rank the major streaming platforms in terms of how they're performing for us, for the sci-fi fantasy crowd, for people who like Game of Thrones crossover stuff. Even though like Netflix might be doing pretty well in other genres, there's hardly anything I watch on Netflix anymore. In terms of crossover for the Game of Thrones YouTube fan crowd, Netflix isn't doing very well, but I do have one or two things to mention here. And there's nothing that's on cable that I don't also get on streaming, like Rick and Morty's on Adult Swim, but it's also on Max, so there are only 5 categories for the top 5 streamers. Even though there are 7 alleged major streamers, the bottom 2 really aren't worth it. That also letting you know, I don't get Paramount and Peacock. There's nothing I'd like on Peacock. I think both of these things are going to be absorbed in mega mergers in the coming year. And as for Paramount, like there's 1 or 2 shows I might check out, but that's not enough to justify getting the subscription for it. Like Star Trek, I regret that I'm so far behind. I never started Strange New Worlds. I saw the first episode, I liked it. But that's under the box of I could get the Blu-ray for that from the library or something eventually when they come out. And because Star Trek is dedicated fandom, they actually have really good Blu-ray releases still. A lot of things don't have physical releases anymore, but I will mention that, yes, in spring, Yellow Jacket Season 3 is coming out, but I wasn't able to start it, and I don't get Paramount, so I haven't. When Paramount gets absorbed by someone else, if they get absorbed by Max, I will marathon that. But moving ahead, just letting you know, on the top 5 things which most people have, this is what I think are the most anticipated or most notable shows. Schedule-wise, all of these shows fall loosely into 4 broad seasons. Winter, January to February, then spring from like March through May-ish. Then it gets fuzzier as I go out. Summer is everything from late June through last weekend of August. And then fall, which is very fuzzy, but we have a general idea of that. At the end, I'll have a list of TBA shows, which are really either summer or fall, because at this point we know they're not coming out by spring. And just in terms of hours of the day and everything, that there's only about 14 or 15 shows I personally am going to be able to watch or planning to watch, but narrows it down, and I'll mention other things for you guys. To start with, we have a very thin season in winter. There's hardly anything I'm watching now. It's probably a good thing because I need to catch up. I only need like one or two shows just to, be stimulated so I don't get so bored it affects everything. But with the finale of Creature Commandos last week, that was the last 2024 show. That was amazing. Week after that, Harley Quinn Season 5 is coming out on Max. Just came out June 16th. So that's really the first show on my 2025 list. I haven't watched beyond Season 1, but with so few other things coming out in winter, I'm going to be catching up on that. Then, today, January 17th, we're getting Severance Season 2 on Apple. That's probably going to be the show of the season, of the winter season. Another issue is when I said, there's only 5 things, I don't have Apple TV Plus right now. And it's this thing where there's just few enough shows that, whereas Netflix, I'm like, I don't really need this, or Star Trek, I'll get to Blu-ray. This is, I do the churn. Where at the end of the year, I'll subscribe for a month and just marathon the 4 or 5 shows I really wanted to watch. It's just enough that it's not worth getting the full subscription. So I'm not knocking on Severance. I've heard it's really good. It's just I was behind. I didn't really get into Season 1. And there's more Apple shows I want to watch at the end of the year than there are at the beginning of the year. So it makes more sense to build up a backlog than have like a marathon month in November or something, because there's other things that are coming out like Foundation that I want to watch. So I am not watching Severance. I know you guys very probably are. I'm not knocking on it, just that's there. Next show after that comes February 4th, when we get Invincible Season 3 on Amazon Prime. This is great because while Season 2 was good, there were long breaks between the episodes. They split it between a fall and spring release. It was strike issues, other issues. They have openly promised there are going to be no more long breaks on this. It will all come out continuously for Invincible Season 3. I am really looking forward to that. That is my top show of the next 2 months. Yeah, Harley Quinn is more of a light comedy, but that's what I'm going to be watching. After that, on February 9th comes the Super Bowl, which I'm not counting it as a TV show, but the Super Bowl is when we get all the big new trailers for things, first look trailers. Remember how the first teaser trailer for Rings of Power, the first time we got any footage from that, was a Super Bowl teaser. So Super Bowl is an event to look forward to for the YouTube community, breaking down all these first look trailers. Following on from that, there's a couple of premieres on Valentine's Day around February 14th weekend. We have White Lotus Season 3 on Max, which I am not watching, but that's the big Max show, and I think that's why there aren't that many other shows out in winter. Apart from the production slump, it's no one wanted to compete against White Lotus and Severance. Same day, like I said, Yellow Jackets Season 3 is coming out on Paramount. I'm not going to mention a lot of Paramount things, just I'm aware of that because it's popular and in the near future, but otherwise I'm not really mentioning Paramount stuff, and I won't be able to watch it. What I will be watching that weekend is, it's the same weekend that Captain America 4 comes out, so I'm looking forward to that for a movie thing, though I'm not really doing movies on this. And that's pretty much all there is for winter schedule through the end of February. I'm just watching light Harley Quinn, and then Invincible Season 3. But then we get to the start of spring, when I think TV comes back with a vengeance, that the 2025 TV season really begins, is March 4th with Daredevil Born Again on Disney+. The first trailer just came out, looked really good. I was looking forward to it even before the trailer because they said this will be the first big test bed of the behind-the-scenes reforms on Marvel TV projects. I've talked about this in my Agatha All Along reviews. I felt Agatha All Along probably benefited from those reforms as well, but it was a smaller show like comedy, that all the problems that led to them putting out too much junk culminating in Secret Invasion, they actually reformed everything and they're going to be fixing things. But this is the real test because it has a much bigger fan base. It was a show before this in the Netflix era. looks good, and it will probably, I'm hoping it'll be the return to form of the Marvel TV universe overall, signaling, look, we fixed everything, we have real showrunners now, we're not just treating them as a supplement to the movies, all of that. March 13th, going chronologically, next comes Wheel of Time Season 3 on Amazon. Like I said, this has progressed to the point I regret I haven't been watching this. That Season 1 had problems, and everyone said Season 2 was a drastic improvement because the pandemic affected filming on Season 1. I get that. Plus, the story takes a while to get going, and I didn't see all of it. I saw clips and samples of it, an episode here or there. I thought Sean Chan was really interesting as, like, what would a fantasy medieval America be like? And they just cast Chirag Dashlu in that. So, a lot of good actors. The story got better. I'm worried if the ratings are enough to justify, because they're not promoting it enough, even though they did get better. They did refine it as they go. I'm not sure what's going to happen to that. I feel bad for that fandom if they need more love, because it did improve. Literally the only reason I'm not watching this is for time reasons, that if I had watched the first 2 seasons, I would have dived into it. But there's so much dense lore to get into. This will be a sit-down project. That's not knocking on it. That's, I want to take this seriously, and like a year from now, marathon all 3 seasons. Slowly enough at my own pace that I can keep track of it, but that is what we are going to be talking about in terms of the crossover appeal crowd of sci-fi fantasy. Daredevil and Wheel of Time are big crossovers for us. Then, in the second half of April, we've narrowed it down, will come probably the most anticipated release of the year, top 3, The Last of Us Season 2. And we worked this out with calendars that, given the premiere date of White Lotus Season 3, and this would come immediately after that, the earliest Last of Us Season 2 could come out as April 13th. And as late as May 4th to meet the Emmy cutoff, but then the first trailer said April. So it's one of 2 weekends, but April 13th or April 20th, probably April 13th, is when they're going to get The Last of Us Season 2. And I have faith in Craig Mazin, the showrunner. The cast is amazing. The second video game wasn't as well received as the first one. And I respect their decisions in it, but we'll see what happens. Also, they said they split the season, that this will be covering the first half of the second video game. And it's a shortened season, that you're seeing how all that season shortening affected other HBO projects. So it's the most anticipated going in, and it's possible that people will leave the show after this and not return for Season 3. One way or another, it's still, even if it's not the best, it's going in the most anticipated, that everyone is looking forward to this, both those who played the games, and particularly those who didn't, of seeing what's going to happen. I mean, this show came out over a year ago. This was still the top downloaded, illegally downloaded show of 2024, okay? This is like a 23 show. 2024, it was still the top illegally downloaded show worldwide. That shows you how popular this is. So that's going to be pretty big. I have done review videos thematically. I didn't go episode by episode, I made videos going, look how they did zombie horror better than Game of Thrones was just having mindless hordes, that they filmed it better, sparingly and with horror. I have a whole video on that. So I would make like 1 or 2 review videos of that, not explicitly. Other channels can do this better than I can, but we're going to be pretty busy in actual spring, March, April, with those. Culminating, of course, in what I am anticipating more than Last of Us at this point, April 22nd, Andor Season 2. I have a bit of trepidation on this because they said we planned it as a 5-season show, and we realized the production demands are impossible. We're going to finish with Season 2, but we're going to have it in 4 clusters of 3 episodes each, and these story arcs are what would have originally been a full season. I don't know if they can condense it like that. On the other hand, they have openly said Season 1 was so good that the studio basically gave the showrunner a blank check. I mean, not just money, they promised no oversight because you have proven your writing on Season 1. Which don't like Benioff and Weiss, give them no oversight initially. Once they have proven that they're good at it, let them do this. So there's going to be no studio meddling or anything, and just I'm really looking forward to what they can do. It's going to be quite a ride. It's going to be fast because they're condensing so much. So I'm not really sure what to expect from that, but in many ways, I think we anticipate that more than Last of Us Season 2 because we know the story of Last of Us. It's an adaptation, and or isn't. One other thing that's coming out in spring that I'm not watching, just of note, is, by the way, Hulu counts as Disney Plus now. On Hulu will come the 6th and final season of The Handmaid's Tale at some point in spring, they said. I liked the early seasons. I fell off from it, but just in terms of the camera work, and I've done videos on how they're doing cinematography so well in terms of the world building, and as a filmmaking thing, I respected it. I don't know if it should have run 6 seasons. Some people said it shouldn't have run beyond the first season was the adaptation of the book. Like, seasons 2 and 3 were still really good, but I think it might have run 1 season too long. Either way, though, this isn't the end because Margaret Atwood made that sequel book, The Testaments, which is like 15 years later, that they said we are going to have a direct spin-off adapting The Testaments, based on The Testaments, so we'll see where that goes. This isn't the end of everything, but maybe for these cast members and setup, maybe that's a shakeup they need. We'll see what happens. But in terms of what I am watching, what is dominating discussion, Marvel's Daredevil, Star Wars' Andor, both of which are on Disney, Last of Us 2, which is on Max, and Wheel of Time 3 is also really good on Amazon Prime. I just personally won't have time to watch it. That is the spring schedule. And why is there such a sharp cutoff between spring and summer? Because the Emmy cutoff is in May. Then they come back from that in June with summer shows. I don't have as many specific dates after this because, it's fuzzier going out. Summer. Like I said, HBO announced Dunk and Egg is coming in summer, but then Variety said every internal source says fall, so I'm putting it there for now just to play it safe. The one huge show of the summer, which I'm looking forward to, is Alien Earth on Hulu. It's from the creator of FX's Legion, so he's already proven himself to me. Noah Hawley, I love his stuff. What few details he shared about it, it's focusing more on corporate intrigue with Weyland-Yutani because of the Xenomorphs Ridley Scott verse. I'm really looking forward to that, even though we haven't seen a lot yet. Alien Romulus is pretty good, but that was by different people. But most anticipated, summer 2025, at some point, Alien Earth, for me, will be the show of the summer. Also coming out in summer will be, tentatively, Witcher Season 4 on Netflix. With that, they have all sorts of problems with the recasting, that Henry Cavill was a hero, and left on the principle that this wasn't a faithful adaptation anymore. But others have talked more about that than me, but I respect that the fantasy crowd will be talking about that more, but after the initial buzz for Witcher Season 1, and despite Cavill's great performance and the rest of the cast, I don't think we're really treating that as, because I think even Wheel of Time is bigger than Witcher now, ultimately, given all the negative controversy around it. Plus, the 5th season of The Witcher will be the 5th and final season, so if you're keeping the faith, I applaud you, just I am not watching Witcher, and I don't think it's really considered as big of a thing as, oh, here's season 4 of a show that's getting a little tired versus the shiny new premiere of Alien Earth. Another show coming out in summer that others will be talking about is the spin-off of Amazon's The Boys, Gen V, is coming back for its 2nd season. One of the cast members, I think, died in an accident recently, but that's one storyline. But they said The Boys' upcoming 5th season, next year, 2026, that'll be the final season, but we are going to make spin-offs, and I wish them well. I know Red Team Review and Preston Jacobs reviewed The Boys and Gen V Season 1 a lot. They are going to be talking about that. If you're into the superhero comic stuff of Marvel, DC, again, I loved The Boys Season 1. I thought it was a great satire of celebrity culture and everything, and corporate culture. It's just there aren't enough hours in a day for me to watch all of this. So, really, that's the only big thing is Alien Earth. Oh, we do have 2 Disney Marvel projects, though. On June 24th, we're getting Ironheart, which, I'm not as hyped about that as Daredevil, but it helps that there isn't that much else out in summer, so I'll probably check it out. Because, again, they said we really reformed everything behind the scenes. So for all I know, I mean, why... some things sound absurd on paper, like we're going to make a show about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or we're going to make a Broadway play about the King of Siam, or the Common Alley Cat, that, for all we know, Ironheart could have really good writers on it, and with the new reforms, turn out to be just a really good story. It's an unknown, so I will be checking it out, particularly because of the promise that Marvel said we fixed everything, but the first test of that fix is Daredevil, so that's what I'm really looking forward to, but given a lack of competition, I'll try out Ironheart. Actually, what I'm looking forward to more than Ironheart is an animated project coming later on August 6th, Eyes of Wakanda. That looks really interesting. They have put out a few things from it, and they said it's more of an anthology thing of seeing, because the Black Panther is a title that's passed down from one generation to the next as each person becomes the hero who gets the sacred herb from the vibranium. That there have been comics like this where they do anthologies of Black Panthers in different historical eras. So, okay, it's an anthology, they're going to be trying that out. I like anthologies because they're like a roll of the dice, like a skit show, that if there's one that's not great, you get to try another one. It's a sampler platter. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Eyes of Wakanda. I'm definitely watching that. We'll see where this goes. But for me, show of the summer will be Alien Earth, because it's really new. I want to see what their take on it is. I know this showrunner, I really like him. Following that, we come to fall, and I don't have specific dates for most of these. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms could come as late as October, based on, they said, fourth quarter. We don't know. And that will be my highlight of the year for my channel, but as for other stuff, for the Halloween season, October 3rd, we'll get Marvel Zombies as a one-shot miniseries animated. That'll be fun. Then, some point between October and November will come actually on Netflix, Wednesday Season 2. That was one of their top 5 shows worldwide, and I didn't get to watch Season 1. I sampled it and thought it was actually really good, and I think it succeeds in spite of being on Netflix, not because of it. But again, I would catch this somewhere else and not really watching that much Netflix stuff. I think it makes more sense to marathon Wednesday Season 1 during the Halloween season. Like, I didn't watch it last November because, well, Halloween is over now. It's a Halloween, horror thing. Horror comedy. So I'm going to catch up on that for Halloween season as a themed thing, but that's just me. I know everyone else is looking forward to it. Then in fall, we're getting another Marvel live-action project, which they have put out a teaser for, Marvel's Wonder Man. This is intriguing because the Wonder Man storyline in the comics, George R.R. Martin has cited as one of his favorite ever. That he's this villain who pretends to be a good guy to join the Avengers, but then has a crisis of conscience and dies defending them. That this was surprisingly mature storytelling for a kid's comic when he read it. For back in like the 60s, this was really early, before they had gray villains and things. So I'm not exactly sure what they're doing with it. In this version, he's an actor that they cast. In universe, he's an actor. I'm not sure what their take on Wonder Man is. I'm intrigued, though, given what the comics did, so I'll check that out. Also, I think coming in fall is, again, another in spite of, not because of Netflix thing, One Piece Season 2. People raved about that their One Piece adaptation was actually really good, but they've had so many other misses or ho-hum things here and there. I don't know what's going on with that. Like, Red Team Review really liked it. If you enjoy watching it, I'm not knocking on it, just I never got into that. I didn't watch the show as a kid. I got into anime later in life. Like, I'd marathon a lot of, hardcore adult sci-fi things like Ghost in the Shell series and stuff, and Gundam stuff later on. I wasn't really into kids' anime that much. Like, I wasn't into Dragon Ball or One Piece. Yeah, I watched Pokemon, who didn't, but really, I was into the older anime by the time I got into it. Another fall release, honorable mention here is, I said I'm keeping this to those 5 main platforms. The One Stars show is Outlander, which is having its 8th and final season. I've heard nothing but good things about this show. It's just, I never got into it. And I know a lot of people like it. I heard it's very good. The research and the time travel and everything, and the historical research, just, you guys look forward to that. I'm not going to be covering it myself. They are going to have a spin-off, though, a prequel, so that's what's going to happen. And lastly, let me rattle off the TBA list of these are things we're pretty sure aren't coming out in spring because we would have heard about it, but they're coming out at some point in summer or fall. Rick and Morty Season 8 on Max, well, Adult Swim Max, might actually come out as early as summer. I'm really looking forward to that. I think the show improved when they got rid of Roiland because they said, he isn't a co-creator. He's the voice actor who ad-libs a lot, but most of his ad-libs are poop jokes and random, whereas we're trying to do meta storytelling arcs. So I actually like Season 7 a lot better, and now that they're really far out from that, I'm really looking forward to Season 8 of what they can do with it. There's already a teaser trailer out saying it will come out in 2025. It was delayed because of the strikes. Possibly as early as summer. We'll see what they're doing. Another Adult Swim thing coming this year, cross with Max, is a show called Lazarus, which is by Watanabe, the creator of Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. They got to come back and make this show, this tech thriller cyberpunk thing, Lazarus. There is a trailer for it. Looking forward to that. Has a good pedigree. Other stuff coming out. A lot of this is Max stuff just because they listed their things. Welcome to Derry. There's a trailer for that. It looks nice. It's a Stephen King project. Peacemaker Season 2, another DC thing coming out on Max. Possibly the end of the year, if not spring, on Amazon will come Hazbin Hotel Season 2. In my other video, I said this is one of the best animated things of 2024. It's indie animation that broke in mainstream. That'll be coming. Looking forward to that. Then we have a string of other Netflix things to round it out. That Stranger Things Season 5 will be big, but I don't know if that show is as big as it was in Season 1, and it kind of faded off, and I really never got into Stranger Things. I don't remember the 1980s, so 80s nostalgia doesn't really appeal to me that much. That'll be pretty big, though, so that's coming on Netflix at some point. A lot of major Netflix shows are ending this year. Others ended last year, like Ozark and stuff ended. And they're not being replaced with other shows stepping up to fill the void. In awards shows, at least. I know Netflix is, because their platform is so big worldwide, they can just suggest shows from Scandinavia and Korea that you would like, because they're similar taste clusters to what you're watching. And they can make money from it. They're the most profitable streamer now. They really bounced back from 2 years ago. I just wasn't into Stranger Things. I know everyone will be talking about it. That might come out any point between August and October. There's various speculation. Sandman Season 2. I loved Sandman Season 1, but given all the stuff going on right now, I'm not even sure if I'm going to watch that. I don't know. But again, it's not enough to justify getting Netflix again. And last, we have Squid Game Season 3, which is the final season. Season 2 just dropped on Christmas. Apparently it wasn't that good, and no one is really talking about it. Like 2 weeks later, there's no videos about it. And it wasn't as well received, and while I thought Season 3 would come out next Christmas, there are rumors it might be coming out in June. We'll have to see. Oh, the last big TBA thing I didn't get to because it doesn't have a formal title yet. Untitled Vince Gilligan Sci-Fi Show on Apple TV+. That Vince Gilligan, he's famous for Breaking Bad. He actually started out as a writer on The X-Files. And he said, I'm making this, he just said it's a sci-fi show without more explanation than that. Stars the female lead from Better Call Saul, and it's set in Santa Fe. Well, he's from there, so all the shows are set there, but what could they be doing? We're not really sure, but just given his pedigree, that might end up being one of the shows of the year. Keep that on your radar. And I don't know if Foundation Season 3 will also be coming out on Apple TV in fall. This is why if I had to pick 1 month for the churn to get a 1-month subscription to Apple, I'm waiting for Vince Gilligan's thing, rather than blowing that 1 month on Severance. But I will watch both eventually. That wraps it up, and then there's the TBAs. We'll see what happens. So, 30 minutes in, this wraps up my chronological listing of what I think the TV schedule, the most anticipated TV shows of the upcoming year will be. For me personally, the ones I bolded is this is what I have time to watch or I'm caught up with. Harley Quinn and Invincible 3 in winter. Then in spring, we get a lot of stuff. We get Daredevil, Andor, Last of Us Season 2. I'd watch Wheel of Time if I could. Maybe that would be a summer show because there's as much in summer. Because then in summer, the one thing I'm really looking forward to is Alien Earth. And also the Marvel things I'll watch, Ironheart and Eyes of Wakanda. Assuming Night of the Seven Kingdoms comes out in fall, not summer. Then there'll be Marvel Zombies I might check out Wednesday. Otherwise, going by platform, let's rank in terms of shows I watch, which platform has the most. Actually, Max, despite all their problems, despite gutting their animation department for everything except a few DC things, it's like all they have left is DC animated stuff, but admittedly, I was head over heels in love with Creature Commandos. So, we're only focusing on 10 shows, but if they're all consistently must-watch shows, can I really say it's a bad platform? If they went quality over quantity, I don't know. Max is giving us Harley Quinn, White Lotus 3, though I'm not watching that, Last of Us, It Welcome to Derry, Peacemaker, Rick and Morty, Lazarus, and A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. That's 8 things of note. Disney Plus is having trouble expanding beyond the niche of Marvel and Star Wars, but everyone watches them, that they've got Daredevil, Andor, Ironheart, Eyes of Wakanda, Marvel Zombies, so about 4 with Wonder Man, plus technically Handmaid's Tale and Alien Earth, if you count Hulu as part of Disney Plus. Actually, my current package doesn't do that. You have to pay more for that, but it's less than a full new streamer when they said they're in the process of absorbing them. But the Hulu merger is a good idea, that it's helping them move beyond just those 2 franchises of Marvel Star Wars, that we're getting the Ridley Scott Alien franchise. Oh, well, that's actually a really good new franchise to expand into beyond those 2 core ones. So that it helps them spread out into other things, like technically Shogun was a Hulu Disney thing. Below that, I have to say Amazon Prime, despite not really having a coherent strategy just because they have a lot of money to throw at things, has been consistently making shows I like. Like, they made Fallout, that Lord of the Rings Season 2 is better. But in terms of other projects, like Invincible is one of the best animated projects of the past decade. They're also having Hazbin Hotel, Gen V and The Boys, Wheel of Time Season 3. So not as many things as Disney this year, but they're still really good. There were some heavy hitters last year with Fallout. Fallout's not going to come back for Season 2 until like spring of 2026. And I don't have that much to say about what's coming in 2026 on the far horizon, but while I'm here, 3 other things that Amazon is planning then are Fallout, but they've also greenlit Blade Runner 2099, and they have a pretty impressive cast list, so we'll see what happens with that. And most of all, they greenlit, not considering, they finally greenlit at Amazon a Warhammer 40K show by Henry Cavill. They poached him from Netflix. And last month, we thought, we haven't heard so much about this, there was rumors it was canceled. Not only were those rumors not true, they have actually greenlit it now for 40K. So, just wow. Really looking forward to that. But then when you look at a list of Apple stuff, Severance, Foundation, Untitled Vince Gilligan Sci-Fi, like 3, maybe 4 big shows, isn't enough to make me actually get an annual subscription to a platform. I'm not going to just, sit down and watch other suggested shows on Apple. I know what they have. They have a limited library. If there's only specifically 4 things I watch, I'll watch it through other means. Or by getting it out of a library Blu-ray eventually, or something, or getting a 1-month subscription. Netflix doesn't even rise to the level of Apple for me, that I officially consider Apple a better home for sci-fi fantasy. It's sort of like what IFC cable channel used to be, Apple. Compared to Netflix is below that for me. They really don't have things I'd watch, other than maybe Wednesday. But look what they have here on Netflix. Also, Cobra Kai is finally ending. I never got into that, and every time I make a list of shows, people go, well, what about Cobra Kai? Doesn't really have crossover appeal to me. That's the final season is coming February 13th. Stranger Things, I never got into it. Witcher, not into it. The TV show. Squid Game, not into it. One Piece, fine show, not into it. Sandman, things. So other than like Wednesday or something, which I could just get a Blu-ray out for individually and watch whenever, I don't really need Netflix. That when I set up a new TV in my home gym over the winter break, I have Max, Disney, and Amazon. I do not have Netflix on there. I could have. I did. This is when I had to actually sit down and make this list, and I went, shit, given a choice, I'd get Apple over Netflix at this point, even though I know so many people watch so many other things on it. So in terms of how these platforms are doing, how the hell is Netflix doing so well financially when they have relatively few shows we actually watch? What are your thoughts on this, on your favorite platforms for everything? Because we all know that the coming year is going to be a year of mega mergers where the biggest ones gobble up the smaller ones. And that's good because the market isn't big enough to sustain 7 major ones, 7 major streamers plus a couple of tinier ones. That Paramount and Peacock are probably going to get bought out in the coming year. That's a good thing. It means they'll stop nickel and diming each other. Really quickly here, end with this slide of the current subscriber counts for every major streaming platform. Now, back in the boom era of streaming from 2019 through 2022, they measured success in terms of how many subscribers they have. Don't take this too seriously because it's really more about profit margin than they overexpanded selling their stuff for practically nothing, giving it away for really cheap subscriptions just to say, look how many subscribers we have. That isn't automatically profit. Still, as a general sense of how big they are, and because Max is planning a lot of international expansion in the coming year, just to give you a loose sense of this, only the big three, the top three, have over 200 million. Allegedly, Netflix has up to 282 million subscribers. Though again, that's like 70 million or so are like not profitable. We gave it away ad-free in secondary countries like that. But upper 200s. Disney Plus, including Hulu and ESPN, is around 235 million. Amazon, about 205 million. Max, with its France launch in summer and other parts of Europe, was up to 110 million. And we don't know how many new subscribers they're getting from the Southeast Asia launch. That was right after the cutoff for this. They might get quite another 20, 30 million from Southeast Asia, a lot of people there. Plus, they said they're launching in Australia first half of this year. Below that, though, everyone who's below 100 million, Paramount is 72 million subscribers, and more importantly, they're not profitable at all. They're bleeding money. Apple is about 50 million subscribers, though Amazon and Apple are really glorified promos for their parent company, like Amazon, the shipping company, Apple, the tech company. They could run these at a loss just for the publicity of, look at our TV show to run on our products. So Apple, I don't think, is going away anytime soon. It's actually good for niche shows. It's supported by a tech company. It doesn't matter that it's relatively small with 50 million subscribers. Paramount is doing worse than Apple, even though it's allegedly got more people. Then Peacock is 36 million, and I know they have 1 or 2 shows now, but it's nothing I ever really needed. Starz, I don't know what's going to happen to Starz after Outlander shifts to a spin-off, but Peacock isn't doing that well when you can see that Starz has 28 million subscribers, that Starz is verging on more than Peacock, just because it's also a movie service. And just going through the bottom of the list of these are the also-rans, the minor streamers, just to give you a sense of everything. AMC Plus is maybe 2 million. BritBox, which is a niche thing, so that's okay. It's for British shows, about 2 million. Crunchyroll, which pretty much after Sony absorbed Crunchyroll, then Funimation, has a near monopoly on new anime for North America. Crunchyroll has about 15 million subscribers. That's good for them. And it's a niche. They'll always dominate anime stuff. And just to give you some perspective, whenever you see those ads of, I'm a big YouTuber, watch my unedited version on Nebula, Nebula only has 600,000 subscribers. I mean, across the entire thing. In terms of, like, me with my content reaching a wider audience, I might as well write my stuff in chalk on the street I would get more people to see it than if I put it on Nebula. It's like Patreon, only for its Nebula. It makes no sense to me if this isn't becoming a thing. But otherwise, that's how the major platforms stand right now. And the thing is that the big three are already worldwide, whereas Max is trying to expand more that they haven't even launched in the Sky Atlantic parts of the world yet, like the UK, Germany, and Italy, or India. So we'll see how they grow with that, but this coming year will be an era of big expansions and mega mergers. And I cover all of this more in my next videos on the state of the industry and state of Warner.